Daniel Wright adjusted his navy blue uniform one last time before the massive doors to the Galactic Council chamber slid open. The human ambassador took a deep breath and stepped forward, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. 12 pairs of alien eyes followed his movement as he walked to the center of the circular floor. The chamber was impressive by any standard. Carved from a single asteroid, its walls rose nearly 100 feet high and were decorated with symbols representing the 100-plus worlds under Council protection. Soft blue light filtered down from an artificial sky dome. The Council members themselves sat on elevated platforms arranged in a semicircle, each representative positioned according to their species' seniority in the galactic community. Daniel had practiced for this moment for months. As humanity's first official representative to the Galactic Council, he carried the hopes of Earth on his shoulders. First contact had occurred just 2 years ago when an alien scout ship detected Earth's early attempts at faster-than-light travel. After that came months of cautious communication before this invitation to appear before the Council. "Ambassador Wright of Earth," announced a mechanical voice. "You stand before the Galactic Council of United Species." Daniel bowed slightly. "I am honored to represent humanity before this esteemed body." High Minister Exvoth leaned forward. The Arcturian's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of focused attention. As Council chairperson, Exvoth spoke first. "Humanity has achieved much in a short time," the alien said, voice rasping through the translator. "Your development from primitive technology to space travel has occurred at a rate that concerns this Council." Daniel maintained a pleasant expression. This wasn't the war welcome he'd expected, but diplomacy often began with caution. "We are a curious species, High Minister. Our desire to learn and grow has driven our progress." A low murmur passed through the Council. To Daniel's right, a bulky creature with stone-like skin tapped a crystal rod against its platform. "I am Drax Euro, Security Chief of the Council Forces," the alien rumbled. "Your species' history is filled with conflict. You develop weapons before you develop medicine. You compete when you should cooperate. This pattern is troubling." Daniel nodded. "We have made mistakes in our past. What species hasn't? But we have learned from them. Have you?" asked another Council member, this one with features like a giant insect. "Your current military spending suggests otherwise." One by one, the Council members spoke, each pointing out perceived flaws in human development or behavior. Daniel listened carefully, responding with respect but not submission. He had expected questions and concerns, but this felt more like an interrogation than a diplomatic meeting. Finally, High Minister Exvoth raised a hand for silence. "Ambassador Wright, let us be direct. The Council has reached a decision regarding Earth's status in the galactic community." Daniel straightened. This was unexpected. Decisions usually took months of deliberation. "Humanity will surrender its military capabilities and submit to Council oversight," Exvoth declared. "Your species' unpredictable nature and rapid technological advancement pose an existential threat to galactic stability." The chamber fell silent. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine, but he kept his expression calm. "With respect, High Minister, Earth cannot accept those terms. We come seeking friendship and mutual cooperation, not surrender of our sovereignty." The other representatives exchanged glances, all except for one. A reptilian figure with emerald scales watched Daniel with interest. This was Kellanner of the Meridian Alliance, one of the newer Council members. Drax Euro stepped down from his platform and approached Daniel. The security chief towered over the human, nearly 8 feet of solid muscle and armor. "Perhaps you misunderstand the gravity of your situation," Drax said. "This is not a negotiation. Your homeworld can be quarantined indefinitely. Your colonies isolated. Your fleet ... neutralized. Several of the council members shifted uncomfortably at this display, but none spoke up. Daniel looked up at the massive alien, his face showing no fear. Instead, he smiled. The smile caught Drax off guard. Most species responded to threats with either immediate submission or displays of aggression. This calm expression was unexpected. "I understand perfectly," Daniel replied in a steady voice. "I just find it interesting that you believe threats are the appropriate diplomatic approach." Drax stepped back, confused by the response. High Minister Ixvoff leaned forward. "You have 7 rotations to reconsider, Ambassador. The Council expects your formal acceptance of our terms at that time." Daniel bowed again, maintaining his smile. "I will convey your message to Earth's leadership, but I suggest the Council use this time to consider a path of true cooperation rather than coercion. Humanity has much to offer as friends. As subjects, very little." He turned to leave, his back straight and his steps measured. As he neared the exit, a soft voice called to him, "Ambassador Wright." Daniel paused. Kaliner had left his platform and approached, keeping a respectful distance. "The Council has made many mistakes in its long history," the reptilian said quietly, "but threatening your kind may prove to be its most consequential." Daniel studied the alien's face. "You disagree with the Council's approach?" "The Council fears what it does not understand," Kaliner replied. "And humans are difficult to understand. That smile, for instance. Most species show teeth as a threat. For us, it can mean many things," Daniel said. "Sometimes amusement. Sometimes friendship. Sometimes ... double quotes. Sometimes what?" Kaliner asked. "Sometimes it means we've just seen a challenge we look forward to solving." Daniel's smile widened slightly. "Good day, Representative Kaliner." As Daniel walked through the massive hallways toward his quarters, his smile faded. He tapped the communication device on his wrist. "Grace, are you there?" His aide, Communications Specialist Grace Williams, responded immediately. "I'm here, sir." The entire exchange was monitored. Earth Command is already reviewing it. "Tell them to prepare Operation Contingency," Daniel said. "But not to activate yet. We still have 7 days to find a better way." "Do you think there is one?" Grace asked. Daniel thought of Kaliner and a few other council members who had seemed uncomfortable with the threats. "There's always a better way," he said. "The Council thinks they're dealing with primitive warriors who only understand force. They expect us to either fight or submit. And we'll do neither," Grace concluded. "Exactly." Daniel's smile returned as he looked out a viewport at the stars. "The Council made one critical mistake today." "What's that?" "They threatened the human who was smiling. They have no idea what that means, but they're about to find out." Captain Olivia Martinez sat motionless in the command chair of the Earth Defense Force vessel Defiance. The bridge was quiet as the crew watched Ambassador Wright's transmission from the Galactic Council. When the recording ended, silence hung in the air for several seconds. "So that's it," Olivia finally said. "They expect us to roll over and surrender." Lieutenant Commander Alan Foster, her second in command, shook his head. "After everything humanity has overcome, they think simple." "Threats will work?" Olivia pulled up the star map on her display. The Defiance was currently hidden in an asteroid field 2 light years from the Council headquarters. 4 other Earth ships were positioned strategically throughout nearby systems, all running silent. "Earth Central Command's orders are clear," she said. "Maintain position, observe, but do not engage unless directly attacked." "What do you make of it, Captain?" Alan asked. "They don't understand humans at all," Olivia replied. "They think submission follows intimidation as naturally as night follows day." She stood and walked to the viewport. The distant stars looked peaceful, giving no hint of the political storm brewing. Humanity had only ventured into this region of space in the last decade, establishing small outposts and research stations. They were newcomers, yes, but they were not helpless. "Send word to the other ships," she ordered. "I want hourly status reports and continuous scans for Council vessels." Let's see what they do next. Back at the Council headquarters, Daniel Wright continued attending daily sessions. Each time he entered the chamber, the alien representatives seemed increasingly confused by his calm demeanor. He should have been angry or fearful. Instead, he took notes, asked thoughtful questions about Council procedures, and maintained that same unnerving smile. After the third day, Daniel was approached by Kalaner in a quiet corridor. "You puzzle the Council, Ambassador Wright," the reptilian said. "Most species would be sending desperate messages home, preparing for either war or surrender." "And what do you think we're doing?" Daniel asked. Kalanar's vertical pupils narrowed. "Something unexpected, I hope. The galaxy could use some ... disruption." "Are there others who feel as you do?" Daniel asked carefully. Kalaner looked around to ensure they were alone. The Meridian Alliance joined the Council only 30 cycles ago. Before that, we were considered too volatile for membership, too unpredictable. "Like humans," Daniel noted. "Yes, and we are not the only ones. Ambassador Visha of the Proxima Coalition has expressed interest in meeting you. Her people faced similar pressure when they were first discovered." Daniel nodded. "I would welcome such a meeting." Later that evening, Daniel met with Grace Williams in his quarters. The communications specialist had been working tirelessly, monitoring all Council communications they could access. "I've identified 17 species represented on the Council," Grace reported. "Only 8 appear to fully support the action against Earth. The others either abstained or expressed private reservations." "That's useful," Daniel said. "What about the communication systems?" Grace smiled. "Just as we suspected. The Council controls all official channels between worlds. Regular citizens on most planets don't even know we exist yet." "Perfect." Daniel pulled up a secure display showing the status of Earth's response. "The diplomatic drones are being positioned as we speak. Production facilities on Luna are working at full capacity." "And Operation Mona Lisa?" Grace asked. "Ready to activate on my signal," Daniel confirmed. "But first, we need to build our coalition." The next day, Daniel met Ambassador Visha in a quiet garden area of the diplomatic quarter. The Proximan was tall and slender with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the artificial light. "My people were told to surrender our deep space exploration program," Visha said after they exchanged greetings. "The Council claimed it was for safety reasons. In truth, they feared we would form alliances with non-Council worlds." "And did you comply?" Daniel asked. "Officially, yes." Visha's mouth formed what Daniel recognized as her species' version of a smile. "Unofficially, we simply became more discreet. I believe humanity and the Proxima Coalition have much in common," Daniel said. "As do the Meridians and perhaps others. The question is, how do we change the Council's approach without starting a war?" "The Council's power rests on control of information," Visha explained. "They decide which species meet each other, what technologies are shared, which cultural exchanges are permitted." Daniel nodded slowly. "So if someone were to bypass those controls?" "It would be unprecedented," Visha said, "and potentially revolutionary." By the 5th day, Daniel had met privately with representatives from 4 other species, all of whom had grievances with the Council's heavy-handed methods. Each meeting was brief and careful, avoiding detection by Council security. Meanwhile, on the Defiance, Captain Martinez received a coded transmission from Earth. "It's from the Secretary General," she told Alan. "Special authorization for Operation Silent Drop." Alan checked the attached mission parameters and raised his eyebrows. These are deployment coordinates for the diplomatic drones. They want us to launch immediately? Just the first wave, Olivia clarified. 100 units to these specific systems. That's deep into Council territory, Alan noted with concern. The drones are unarmed and designed to look like standard communication buoys, Olivia reminded him. No one will look twice at them until they activate. She studied the star map again. Begin preparation for silent launch. I want them deployed within 6 hours. On the morning of the 6th day, Security Chief Drax Euro confronted Daniel as he prepared to enter the council chamber. You shall know. Signs of panic, human, the massive alien said. No increased communications with your homeworld. No movement of your ships. What are you planning? Daniel maintained his smile. I'm simply following diplomatic protocol. Chief Drax, considering the council's proposal and preparing a formal response. I've never understood why some species evolved to bare their teeth as a sign of pleasure, Drax said, leaning closer. Your smile disguises nothing, human. I see the fear beneath it. Not fear, Chief Drax, Daniel corrected. Anticipation. Drax stepped back, uncertain. Tomorrow you will deliver Earth's surrender, or face the consequences. After Drax left, Daniel returned to his quarters where Grace was waiting with an urgent message. The diplomatic drones are in position, she reported. Earth Command awaits your order. Daniel sat down at his desk and composed a brief message. Operation Mona Lisa is active. Timing set for council session tomorrow. As he sent the message, Daniel looked at his reflection in the viewport. His smile now was genuine, filled with determination rather than diplomatic politeness. They expect surrender, he said softly. Let's give them something completely different. The 7th day arrived with tension hanging in the air. Throughout council space, ships moved into position around key human outposts. Reports reached Daniel that 3 small research stations had already been seized by council forces. No shots had been fired, but the message was clear. The council was prepared to enforce its demands. Daniel received the news calmly as he prepared for the day's crucial meeting. He chose his formal diplomatic uniform, midnight blue with silver trim, and carefully checked his appearance in the mirror. His expression was relaxed, the now familiar smile in place. The council chamber will be packed today, Grace informed him as she reviewed the day's security briefing. Representatives from non-council worlds have been invited to witness Earth's formal response. Perfect, Daniel nodded. More witnesses means more questions when things don't go as expected. Earth Command confirms all systems are ready, Grace added quietly. Operation Mona Lisa is set to activate on your signal. Daniel took a deep breath. Then it's time to change the galaxy. The walk to the council chamber felt longer than usual. Guards watched Daniel with suspicious eyes as he passed. News of the human outpost seizures had spread quickly, and most expected this day to end with Earth's capitulation or declaration of war. Inside the chamber, Daniel found an audience 3 times larger than normal. The regular council members sat in their elevated positions, but the viewing galleries were filled with diplomats and officials from dozens of worlds. Many had never seen a human before, and whispers followed Daniel as he walked to the center of the floor. High Minister Rex Voth called the session to order. Ambassador Wright of Earth, you stand before the Galactic Council to deliver your worlds. Response to our terms. The 7 rotations granted for consideration have elapsed. What say you? Every eye in the chamber focused on Daniel. He stood silent for a moment, scanning the room. He noted Kalinor's subtle nod, Visha's attentive posture, and the barely concealed anticipation on Drax Yaro's face. High Minister, esteemed representatives, Daniel began, his voice clear and steady. I thank you for your patience these past 7 days. Earth has indeed considered your terms carefully. He paused, the smile still present on his face. "We reject them completely." The chamber erupted in murmurs and exclamations. Security Chief Drax rose halfway from his seat before Eskvoth motioned him to wait. "This is most unwise," the High Minister warned. "The consequences will not be what you expect," Daniel interrupted, something no one had dared do to the High Minister in decades. "Because humanity does not come before you today to threaten or to surrender. We come with a proposal of our own." Daniel tapped a small device on his wrist. "Right now, throughout Council space, thousands of autonomous diplomatic drones are activating. They carry no weapons, no harmful technology. What they carry is something the Council has long feared: information." On the Defiance, Captain Olivia Martinez watched her display as thousands of green dots illuminated across the galactic map. "Operation Mona Lisa is live," she announced to her crew. All drones reporting successful activation. Back in the Council chamber, screens around the walls suddenly activated, showing scenes from planets across the galaxy. On each world, the small diplomatic drones were broadcasting messages directly to the populations of Council worlds. "For centuries," Daniel continued, "the Council has controlled all communication between species. They decide which races meet, which technologies are shared, which ideas are permitted to spread. Today, that monopoly ends." Security Chief Drax rushed toward Daniel, but stopped short when several Council representatives, including Kelainer and 3 others, moved to block his path. "What have you done?" Sixfoth demanded, 4 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "We've smiled at the galaxy," Daniel replied, "and invited it to smile back." On the screens, citizens across dozens of worlds watched as the human message played: "People of the galaxy, we are humanity from the planet Earth. Your Council has hidden our existence from you, as they have hidden many species from each other. We seek no conflict. We desire only open dialogue and mutual respect. We invite all beings to join a new forum where no voice is silenced and no species threatened." The chamber descended into chaos. Some representatives shouted for Daniel's arrest. Others called for emergency sessions. A few sat in stunned silence. Daniel stood calmly in the center of the storm, his smile unchanged. "The drones contain no weapons," he explained when there was finally a lull in the noise. "They carry only truth. Complete information about Earth, our history, our cultures, our technologies, freely given. They also contain information about every Council species. Their histories, their achievements, information the Council has restricted even among its own members." "This is a violation of Council law," Zzvoth shouted. "Laws created to maintain control, not safety," Daniel countered. "Laws that have kept potentially friendly species isolated from each other while the Council grows stronger." He turned to address the gallery of visiting diplomats. "How many of you knew that the Proxima Coalition had developed cures for diseases that plague your worlds? How many knew that Meridian art and philosophy closely mirror your own? The Council has kept us all in separate cages, allowing only the interactions that serve their interests." Visha stood from her seat. "The Proxima Coalition supports Earth's initiative. Too long have we allowed fear to guide our relationships with other species." Kellinar joined her. "The Meridian Alliance also stands with Earth. The time for change has come." Security Chief Drax finally pushed past the representatives blocking his path. He loomed over Daniel, rage evident in his posture. "You have undermined centuries of stability," he growled. "This action will lead to chaos." "Or to something better," Daniel replied, still smiling. "That's the thing about humans, Chief Drax. We see possibilities where others see only threats." Drax raised a massive fist, but before he could strike, his communication device chimed loudly. Similar alerts sounded throughout the chamber as messages poured in from across Council space. "What is happening?" SFOF demanded of an aide who had rushed to his side. Public gatherings on 17 worlds, the aide reported nervously. Non-violent so far, but growing. They're asking questions about the humans and about council policies. Daniel's smile widened slightly. And so it begins. Not with weapons or threats, but with conversation. He turned back to the council. Earth remains open to diplomatic relations with all species, including those currently on the council. But we will not be threatened, and we will not be silenced. The choice now is yours. Adapt to a new reality of open dialogue, or cling to old methods that no longer work. As Daniel finished speaking, a message appeared on his personal device from Captain Martinez. Second wave of drones deployed. Operation Mona Lisa Phase 2 commencing. The human ambassador looked up at the confused and angry faces of the council, his smile now genuinely warm. This was only the beginning, he said softly. 2 weeks after the dramatic council session, the galaxy was in a state of peaceful upheaval. The council had attempted to jam the diplomatic drone signals, but Earth engineers had anticipated this. Each drone used different frequencies and communication methods, making it impossible to silence them all. When one was blocked, 3 more appeared. Daniel sat in a new office, far from the council headquarters. After the initial confrontation, he and his staff had been politely but firmly asked to leave official council space. Now they operated from a space station orbiting Proxima's 3rd planet, which had quickly become the center of what people were calling the Galactic Conversation. Grace entered with the morning reports. 17 more worlds have requested diplomatic contact with Earth, she said, including 3 core council worlds. Daniel nodded. And the council's response? They've abandoned attempts to destroy the drones. Too many of their own citizens protested when they tried. Now they're launching a counter-information campaign, claiming humans are dangerous and unpredictable. Daniel smiled. Which is partly true. We can be unpredictable. But not in the way they claim, Grace added. The second wave of drones is having an even bigger impact than the first. People are fascinated by human art, music, and literature. The second wave of diplomatic drones had carried not just political messages, but cultural exchanges. Earth had sent its greatest achievements, music, art, scientific knowledge, philosophy, all freely given. In return, the drones collected and shared cultural treasures from across the galaxy, creating the first truly open galactic library. A soft chime indicated an incoming call. The holographic display showed Captain Olivia Martinez aboard the Defiance. Ambassador, we've detected increased council military activity, she reported. No direct threats yet, but they've positioned battle groups near key jump points. A show of force, Daniel mused. They want to remind everyone who has the biggest ships. Should we adjust our own positions? Olivia asked. No, maintain current stations. Let them make the first move if it comes to that. Daniel paused. How are the special envoys performing? Olivia's serious expression softened slightly. Incredibly well. The council had no idea what to make of them at first. Now they can't get enough. The special envoys were a particularly bold element of Operation Mona Lisa. Daniel had arranged for human artists, scientists, teachers, and even chefs to travel to worlds that welcomed them. These cultural ambassadors put human faces to the messages from the drones, showing that humans were neither the savages nor the angels that competing rumors claimed. Good. Keep me updated on the council fleet movements, Daniel said before. Ending the call, he turned to Grace. Time for our meeting with the new delegates. They walked to a large conference room where representatives from 30 non-council worlds waited. Some had been isolated for centuries, deemed not ready for wider galactic contact. Others had refused council membership, preferring independence. despite the trade restrictions that came with it. As Daniel entered, the diverse group fell silent. He still found it remarkable how different life could be beings of crystal, of gas, of energy, yet all shared the desire to connect, to learn, to grow. "Friends," he began, "thank you for coming. 2 standard months ago, most of us didn't know the others existed. The council decided who met whom, who traded with whom, who learned from whom. Those days are over." A delegate with 6 limbs and iridescent skin spoke up. "The council claims this new openness will lead to conflict. Without their oversight, war will follow." "A convenient argument from those who have held power for centuries," Daniel replied. "But look around this room. 30 different species, many with different biology, different values, different histories, yet here you all sit, talking peacefully." "Because you have shown us a different way," said another delegate. "This one, a small being floating in a special atmosphere chamber. Humans could have responded to council threats with weapons. Instead, you responded with information." Daniel nodded. "Information is the most powerful force in the universe, more powerful than any fleet." As the meeting continued, plans were made for open trade routes, cultural exchanges, and technological sharing, all things the council had carefully controlled for millennia. Meanwhile, aboard the council's command vessel, High Minister Zixvoth faced a growing crisis. Reports from across council space showed increasing public pressure for reform. 3 member worlds had already recalled their representatives, demanding new leadership that would embrace more open policies. "We should strike now," Security Chief Drax argued. "A decisive military action against Earth would show everyone the price of defiance." Iskvoth looked at the strategic display. Council forces still outnumbered Earth's fleet many times over. A swift strike could indeed end this troublesome human experiment. "And then what?" asked a voice from the doorway. Kalaner entered, followed by representatives from 5 other council worlds. "After you destroy their ships, do you plan to bomb their planet? Kill billions to maintain control?" "If necessary," Drax growled. "Then you would prove everything the humans have said about us," Kalaner countered. "And you would have to do the same to my world, and to Proxima, and to every other world that now stands with Earth." Esvoth's 4 eyes blinked in sequence as he considered the options. "What exactly do you propose, Representative Kellinor?" "Adaptation. Evolution. The Council has stood for 10,000 years because it changed when it needed to. It needs to change now." Back at the Proxima station, Daniel received an unexpected message. The Council requested his presence for emergency discussions, not at their headquarters, but on neutral ground. "It could be a trap," Grace warned. "Of course it could," Daniel agreed. "But it could also be the breakthrough we've been working toward." He contacted Captain Martinez. "Olivia, I need the Defiance to transport me to the neutral zone for a meeting with the Council." "Is that wise?" she asked. "Our intelligence suggests the hardliners are pushing for military action, which is exactly why we need to keep talking." Daniel replied, "Prepare the ship and make sure the Phase 3 drones are ready." "They're ready," Olivia confirmed. "But I hope we don't need them." Daniel looked out at the stars. "So do I." As the Defiance prepared for departure, Daniel reviewed the latest reports from Earth. Humanity had united behind Operation Mona Lisa in ways no one had expected. Old rivals worked together, pooling resources and ideas to support their representatives. "In space, they thought we would cower or fight," Daniel said softly to himself. "They never considered we might simply change the rules of the game." He smiled that same smile that had confused the Council from the beginning. Phase 3 was the most audacious part of the Plan 1 that would either cement humanity's place in the galaxy or lead to conflict. But Daniel remained confident. After all, the Council had made one critical mistake. They had threatened a human with a smile. The neutral zone was a small space station built centuries ago as a meeting place for diplomatic talks during times of tension. Its circular main chamber featured a single round table with seats for up to 20 delegates. No weapons were allowed, and jamming fields prevented any unauthorized communications. Daniel arrived with a small team: Grace Williams, Captain Olivia Martinez, and 2 other human diplomats. They were escorted to the chamber where council representatives already waited. High Minister Exvoth sat opposite the door, flanked by Security Chief Drax and 8 other council members. Daniel noticed that Kellinar and representatives from the more moderate factions were present. Ambassador Wright, Exvoth began formally. The council has agreed to this meeting to discuss the current situation and find a path forward. Daniel nodded and took his seat. Earth welcomes this opportunity for dialogue. Drax leaned forward, his massive form tense even in the peaceful setting. Let us dispense with diplomatic niceties. Your actions have disrupted the balance of the galaxy. 37 worlds now openly defy council directives. Trade routes we have regulated for centuries operate without oversight. Information flows freely between previously isolated species. You say that as if it's a bad thing, Daniel replied with his characteristic smile. Order is being replaced by chaos, Drax insisted. No, Daniel countered. Control is being replaced by cooperation. There's a difference. Kellinar spoke up. Perhaps both sides can agree that significant change is occurring. The question is how we manage this change. Zivoth's 4 eyes focused on Daniel. What exactly does Earth want, Ambassador? You have created this situation. What is your goal? Daniel looked around the table, meeting the gaze of each council member. Earth wants what most beings across the galaxy want: freedom to develop, to trade, to learn, and to connect with others without arbitrary restrictions. That is not how galactic stability has been maintained, Zivoth said. Perhaps it's time for a new definition of stability, Daniel suggested. One based on mutual respect rather than control. The discussion continued for hours. Council members raised concerns about conflicts between species with different values, about technology transfers that might prove dangerous, about the breakdown of carefully managed trade networks. Daniel and his team addressed each point, not with idealistic dismissals, but with practical alternatives. During a brief recess, Olivia approached Daniel in a private alcove. Phase 3 is ready, she said quietly. Just say the word. Daniel nodded. Let's hope we don't need it. But be prepared. When the meeting resumed, High Minister Iskvoth presented the Council's proposal. We are prepared to recognize Earth's independence and withdraw our original demands, he said. In exchange, you will recall your diplomatic drones and cease your information campaign. Species who wish to maintain open contact can petition the Council for permission. Daniel leaned back in his chair. So essentially, you want to return to the status quo, with perhaps a few more permissions granted. It is a generous compromise, Drax insisted. It's not a compromise at all, Daniel replied, his smile fading for the first time. You still want to control who talks to whom, who trades with whom, who learns from whom. That is exactly what we have been working to change. Zivoth's tone hardened. Then we have reached an impasse. Be aware, Ambassador, that while we prefer a diplomatic solution, the Council still commands the largest military force in the galaxy. Daniel's smile returned, but different now knowing rather than diplomatic. I was hoping you would mention that. He nodded to Grace, who activated a small device. The jamming fields in the chamber couldn't block its signal, which had been designed specifically for this moment. I believe it's time for Phase 3, Daniel said calmly. Around the galaxy, the final wave of diplomatic drones activated. These were different from the earlier models. Each carried detailed information about Council military capabilities, command structures, and strategic weaknesses information that Earth intelligence had gathered over months of careful observation. But they also carried something else, an offer from Earth to all spacefaring species. Open technology sharing, free trade routes, and a new form of galactic governance based on representation rather than power. On screens around the neutral zone station, the Council representatives watched in shock as their carefully guarded military secrets were broadcast across the galaxy. "What have you done?" Drax roared, half rising from his seat. "Created true balance," Daniel replied. "Until now." The Council maintained control through two advantages: information monopoly and military superiority. We've already broken the first. Now we've neutralized the second. By exposing our defenses to potential enemies? Zivoth asked in disbelief. By ensuring that everyone knows everyone else's capabilities, Daniel corrected. When no one can hide their strength or their weaknesses. When everyone knows exactly what conflict would cost, that's when real peace becomes possible. Kellinar and several other Council members were studying the broadcasts with growing interest. "He's right," Kellinar said finally. "This changes everything." "It's an act of war," Drax insisted. "No," Daniel said firmly. "It's an invitation to something better." He stood and placed a data device on the table. "This contains Earth's proposal for a new galactic assembly. All species represented equally. Decisions made through consensus where possible. Fair voting where not. No secrets. No information control. No threats." Captain Martinez stepped forward. "Earth's fleet remains defensive only. We have no desire for conflict. But we will not return to a system of control and isolation." For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. Then Kellinar stood. "The Meridian Alliance supports this proposal." One by one, 4 other Council representatives joined him. Isvoth looked from them to Daniel, then to the screens showing the broadcasts spreading across the galaxy. "You never intended to fight us," the High Minister said, realization dawning. "Not with weapons," Daniel agreed. "Ideas are more powerful, more lasting, and more dangerous," Drax muttered. "Only to those who fear change," Daniel replied. 6 months later, Daniel stood in the newly constructed Chamber of Assembly on neutral territory in the Proxima system. Representatives from over 200 worlds, many former Council members, others long oppressed independent worlds gathered to ratify the Galactic Concordance. Captain Olivia Martinez, now Admiral of Earth's expanded fleet, watched from the gallery alongside her former XO, Alan Foster. "Did you ever expect this outcome?" Alan asked her. "Not specifically," she admitted. "But I knew better than to bet against human ingenuity." After the ceremony, a familiar figure approached Daniel. Former Security Chief Drax looked different. Now, less intimidating somehow, though no less massive. "I still don't understand," he confessed. "We threatened your world, your species, yet you responded with ... communication." "That's where you made your mistake," Daniel explained, his smile now warm and genuine. "You saw our smiles as weakness or deception. You never considered they might be invitation." "Invitation to what?" Drax asked. Daniel gestured to the chamber, where hundreds of species mingled freely. "To this. Connection. Understanding. The real strength of humanity isn't our ability to fight. It's our desire not to." As the celebration continued around them, word arrived of another 5 systems requesting membership in the new Galactic Concordance. Daniel smiled, thinking back to that first day in the Council chamber. They had indeed made one critical mistake. They had threatened a human with a smile. And in doing so, they had unknowingly opened the door to a new Galaxy One where smiles were shared freely across the stars.